We are live.
Yes,
Woohoo.
we are.
And I saw you did a couple other shows this week.
Yeah, I
You're
was on Howler Mouses. We wanted to do something because we haven't been together in
right.
on Seed Stream in a while. I and I crashed Kevin's channel
Right.
yesterday. 'Cause he usually does. He has a show where the every Monday night where he does trivia questions,
Right.
and that takes up almost 2 hours. And when that's done, he has a hangout, but I
Uh-huh.
never go there because it's 3 a.m. for me.
So you went there yesterday because
Yeah, yeah, but it was
one
fun.
goblin waiting.
Mm.
Yeah, I wanted to answer. I was watching a little of that after you came on.
Mm.
I want to answer. I forget who it was. It was a rhetorical question.
Mhm.
You guys were talking about Monster
Yeah,
by Barry Windsor Smith and how
Donald Rex is
depressing
here
it
too.
was.
Hi, Donald.
Hello there. And the rhetorical question he had was, he's like, oh, life can be so depressing. Why do I want to read a comic that's depressing? And the answer to that is because it helps you deal with the
Yeah,
depressingness of life. that's why you want a full range of emotions in
Mhm.
the stuff you read that you use to entertain or enlighten you, because it can help you deal with the bad parts of life. Everything escapism doesn't necessarily help you deal with stuff. It helps
Yeah.
you escape stuff.
Captain Infinity. Great timing. We're just talking about depression. No, but I remember when I bought a Acme Novelty library, and I, st- I no, that was not.
Oh, it like I said, it took me a decade to get through that. When I finally read it, like it was a Sunday strip, and I read a couple pages a day, I enjoyed it. But
Mm,
beyond that, I couldn't get into it at all. At all.
no need Acme Novelty library in my collection. Well, I've put a lot of stuff into boxes, and I've been rearranging the things I'm not putting in boxes.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks nice. Uh, I set up the new shelves in a way that they're dynamic. I will
Ah,
rearrange them so that I can have pretend to have new ones out front all the
that's a
time.
good idea. You get to see your comics.
Mhm. Yeah, because sometimes you just put them in the same place and don't go there. You
Right.
don't go there in the. Oh, I haven't looked at this in ages. So
My,
it's
I have a shelf over here that's the newer stuff I haven't read yet. I have like one of these next to my chair behind me, filled with stuff I've just got that I want to read. Sometimes I don't get to it in time, so I put it over there. And if like it sits behind me for too long, I'll move it over there, and then I'll pull stuff out when I've actually read the stuff that's next to me.
people do often get depressed when I point out Back to the Future is a tragedy with a very sad ending, and that is not an opinion but a fact.
Yeah. What was that Big Bang Theory where Amy Farrah Fowler ruined uh Raiders of the Lost Ark for everyone? Did you
I
ever
don't
see
remember
that
that.
episode?
I don't remember.
No, they were like, well,
It,
they wanted her to watch Raiders. Of course, the geeks wanted their
right.
girlfriends,
Oh
and
yeah, I think I remember now. The theory that Indiana Jones doesn't need to be in the movie.
right, he does nothing. If he was not in the movie, things would end up the exact same way they ended up.
Yeah, but he's not there to stop the Nazis. He's there to get Marion back.
He's there to entertain us.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And the scene with the opening scene with a still young Alfred Molina.
Ah.
Because Alfred Molina got famous 20 years after being in movies. It doesn't happen very often.
Was he the one who played Doc Ock?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you watched the modern version of Maverick with Mel Gibson.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay.
I may have, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, he plays one of the bad guys,
Okay.
and they gave him a fake beard and everything. Of course, the what's fun about Alfred Molina, he's British, but he has an Italian mother and a Spanish father, and he was born in England, and he became famous in the United States. His natural accent is British. But he can do since he can speak the other languages, so he'll do the accents when it's convenient.
When he needs to, he can do plenty of accents.
Temple of Doom retcons Raiders and thus is not canon.
I barely remember Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom has a joke. Okay, so Temple of Raiders starts in 1936. Temple of Doom, which is the sequel, starts in 1935. There's a joke in Temple of Doom that only works because it's the second time he's doing the joke, which is the scene in the first movie when the Arab guy starts swinging the sword at him, and just picks up the gun and shoots him and walks away. He tries to do the same in the second movie, but the second movie is a year before. So the joke doesn't make sense from Indiana Jones's perspective.
I've learned more about Indiana Jones stuff from a channel I've been following for ages, Stupid Chainsaw Productions, where he reviews the novelizations of like the Indiana Jones. He reviews comics. But he's one of these guys who likes all the ancillary material to Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and so he's like read all the comic books that nobody else reads.
Right. Well, the Marvel comics aren't bad. They're not essential. Because I have this theory that if the source material is a hero's journey, everything else is a side quest.
Yeah.
If the source material is a pulp adventure, everything counts, or at least it's entertaining.
Right.
So if anything that's ancillary with Indiana Jones is interesting, and I did a lot of people hated the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which I only found out about it when I joined the internet because I was a kid and I liked it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever watched it.
Sure, I mean they end up doing the obvious cameos of famous people.
I remember liking the first 2 issues that John Byrne did of the comic book, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, and then after that, I wasn't interested in it. That's all I remember about the comic.
Isn't there a Captain America issue that contains a negative review of Raiders? I don't remember that.
I have a vague memory of that, but I can't really remember it. It's been a long time since I read my 80s.
And now it's the obligatory mention that when I was reading the Brazilian comics, Indiana Jones was repackaged as a backup feature in Captain America.
Yeah.
So was Neil Adams' X-Men. But the first Captain America comic I read had Moon Knight and Ghost Rider.
The first Neil Adams X-Men that I ever read, I think, because I have some Neil Adams X-Men that I got at a garage sale sometime when I was in my first couple of years of high school, maybe. But I think it was before, it was either around the same time, maybe slight before, that I somehow got my hands on one of those British hardcover annuals that reprinted the X-Men. I think that was that, and I didn't get it at a comic shop, so I have zero memory of where I got it. Someone may have given it to me. But do you know those British annuals?
Yeah.
There was one that reprinted some Neil Adams X-Men, and I was happy to get it because, like I said, I never, late 70s, you couldn't. There were no reprints of that stuff. You couldn't get it anywhere.
Yep. Well, I think the Brazilians had access to the material because this was a 1986 issue, and it went on. It carried on through 87, and they had the material because it had been repackaged in the X-Men Special Edition comics that came out in 82.
Right.
And
That was around the first time you could get some of these classic late 60s, early 70s Marvel and DC stuff. Because I think Marvel reprinted that the X-Men. What else? They reprinted some of the Captain Marvel stuff, the Starlin stuff.
yeah,
DC reprinted Green Arrow, Green Lantern,
and Doctor Fate. Oh, and Neil Adams' Dead Man, which is kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah. So I got some of that when it came. That came out when I was in high school in the early 80s. So I was finally happy to be. Oh, Swamp Thing. Some of the Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing, I think DC published in that format.
It was Captain America 268. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe DeMatteis was trying to get a job writing Indiana Jones. I
have a vague memory that it wasn't realistic enough for Cap. I don't know. I don't remember what his criticism was, but that's my vague memory of it, based on nothing. I might be completely misremembering it.
Well, J.M. DeMatteis is kind of a romantic when it comes to heroic stuff, because he always tries to have the hero downplayed a little bit. Of course, the hero triumphs, but there has to be some sort of a message to what he's doing, and that's okay. I mean, the J.M. DeMatteis is the type of writer who ends up doing superhero comics well, even though he clearly is not a super fan of the concept.
And I cannot remember the last thing I've read by him. It has been a long time.
It's most likely one of the Spectacular Spider-Mans from the 90s.
Wow.
Because I still haven't picked up anything that he did that's indie. And I kind of wanted to try Brooklyn Dreams. I
think I read Brooklyn, but that was the 90s Brooklyn Dreams.
Yeah, and Moonshadow.
Moonshadow. I reread Moonshadow a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it. So that one,
Kept thought Indy was immoral. Well, he was. for all. Appears to have thought of it. Well, sure. I still say that he was trying to get the editor to give him a writing assignment, because Michelini had the book. But it's not wrong that Indy is amoral, in spite of all his posturing that this belongs in a museum. He's happy to run around the world stealing artifacts for his museum, and not for somebody else's museum or for that country's museum. Of course, before the 1980s, none of the places where you could get archaeological stuff cared about having museums.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he is kind of amoral. He does a lot of things because his rivals piss him off.
Yeah. Keeping things out of Nazi hands wasn't seen as immoral.
Right. No, he hates Nazis, but it's not why he's doing things. I mean, he runs into people and things happen, but he's not motivated to do good. He's an adventurer.
And I wanted to
just copying the no. I don't think there's anything wrong with Indiana Jones being amoral. I suppose that if you're not outright,
I don't necessarily think he was amoral either. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Right. I don't think he's trying to hurt. He's not trying to hurt people, but he's. And I don't think he's blind to the. He was blind to to the plight of the needy, because that's kind of what ends up motivating him when throughout the whole of Temple of Doom. But Temple of Doom begins when he was trying to exchange one archaeological piece for another in a dingy joint in Hong Kong. So that he was, if he does something for personal gain, he will. But of course, he knows that he doesn't want to. He gets to Hindi, and all of a sudden, hears that a bunch of kids are being kept as slaves by a Maharaja. Yeah, okay, let's see what we can do. Nobody wants kids to be kidnapped by our heart stealing Maharajas.
Maharaja.
But of course, the guy playing Mola Ram, that was the real highlight of Temple of Doom. And it's one of those cases. The Indian actors they got, a lot of them were quite well known in Indian cinema, but of course, Indian cinema is not known outside India. I think the guy playing the doctor who welcomed Indiana Jones, I think he was British, but the rest of the guys they really were Indian actors. George Lucas and his endless inconsistent retcons. He knows nothing of his. In Indiana Jones, what prevails is the rule of cool.
And I wanted to comment a little bit about yours and Howler Mouse's conversation.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I have a slightly different view on it.
Yeah. I think I was rambling too much and I wasn't coherent. So
at times you were off on you two of you were off on tangents for sure. But I think the name of the episode was something that Paolo and I talk about comics and how to fix and how we can't fix it. I think was and how we can't fix it. And of course, by comics he meant Marvel and DC.
We always do. We always end up going there, even though I am intellectually aware that we need to step away from it.
Yeah. But my view on it is there's nothing wrong with Marvel and DC comics. They're the same as they always were. And I don't mean that literally in that the comics are the same. There's different people doing the comics. There's different. But DC and Marvel are right now, and always DC has been since, I don't know, the 50s, corporate comics. And Marvel have been, I don't know, since the 90s. Marvel always was moving slowly closer to corporate comics. And once they were bought out by Disney, they were 100% corporate comics. And what I mean by corporate comics is there's the creative people making the comics, and there's the corporation, the corporate people making money from the comics. Mm-hmm. And the corporate people are in charge. And there's always someone asking, how much money are we making from this? And they're the ones who are in charge. They're the ones you have to please. And if the answer is not enough money, it doesn't get done. It gets quashed. You're happy if they don't notice what you're doing. But listen, all the people making the comics, I shouldn't say, most of the people making the comics are trying to make good comics. They are Marvel and DC. Most of the people making the comics are trying to make comics, whether they do make good comics or not. And first of all, Tim's got to update his dates I've been hearing him say Marvel Comics were better 10 years ago for about a decade now. So he's got to start saying Marvel Comics were better 20 years ago.
And it is 20 years ago.
But I don't think Marvel or DC comics are any better or worse than they were 20 years ago. I just think they're different.
There are peaks in quality, and well, I do agree that nobody sets out to do a bad comic.
I don't think there's if you take their output as a whole, I think that there's an average. If you look at any individual series, there's peaks and valleys.
But I see I don't see the same level of average quality in Marvel that I did 20 years ago.
I would have to say, as you know, I don't read many Marvel comics, but the month that Chris Giarrusso had 15 covers was the first time I read 15 Marvel comics in a month. And I got to say, about 5 of them were good, 5 of them were terrible, and 5 of them were average. Just like, I mean, none of them were to my taste, really, but there were still good ones. And that's what I think people, especially, that was another comment, I think, in the other show you were on when they were talking about, I think, fantasy novels or something, and someone said something about they have to realize who their audience is. And I'm like, I think they do. Just like I think Marvel and DC realize who their audience is. And it isn't you, me, or Tim.
Mm-hmm.
It's younger people. Like, what's weird about people is when we're younger, everybody aims things at us. So we think that's the status quo. That's what should be done. And as we age out of the age where everybody aims things at you, we're like, well, they're not paying attention to us anymore. They should be paying attention to their audience. And it's like, they are. You're just not their audience anymore.
Yeah, this reminds me of an episode of Boston Legal. and I mean, some guy shows up at the office at the law firm, and he wants to sue television or some store or something because nobody is aiming anything at the old people, even though the old people are the only ones who still have any disposable income. And since the show is, and since the average age of the actors was quite high, because you have Candice Bergen, John Larroquette, and William Shatner in there, and this was over 10 years ago. And look how older they all are now, but they weren't spring chickens in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't like I said, I don't know how many Marvel comics Tim reads a month, but I don't think it's many.
Yeah.
So, and I'll point out, like, somebody like my friend Rob, who I got to meet at the comic store for the first time all semester on Wednesday. He has been buying. I know I've been going to Rob and I went to high school together. So I know him that long. We go to the comic shop together all the time. We always buy our comics, whatever. So and he's always much more of a mainstream buyer. But there's nothing anymore that, like, the Flash was his favorite character for most of his life. If you ask him who his favorite character was, it was the Flash. But he gave up, 10, 15 years ago on buying the Flash every month. He buys the Flash if it's good. He actually, he buys indie stuff, but he buys Marvel and DC stuff too. But he finds the Marvel and DC stuff that's good, that he likes. That's what everybody our age usually doesn't do. We just expect the Marvel and DC stuff that we get to be good and aimed at us. That doesn't happen. He actually, I heard, I think it was you or Tim mentioned the X-Men not being good. That's one of the comics he buys now. And he'll tell you, he started buying the X-Men again when they were all living on that island. I forget who did it, like 4 or 5 years ago. It must be now when they all
Hickman.
moved to that island.
It was Hickman.
Hickman, but they kind of like the other writers sort of immediately when they didn't follow that story as much as they could have because they didn't want to, of course.
I like the new version of O.G. Kirk, played by Paul Wesley. I kind of dropped out of Star Trek.
Yeah, I haven't seen Star Trek in years.
To me, it wraps up nicely with Enterprise.
To me, it wrapped up nicely with Deep Space Nine. That was the last one I watched.
Enterprise doesn't start well, but it gets really good, and that's when they canceled it. But I have 3 Marvel comics, or at least 3 Marvel franchises that I use for that I use as a guide to see if Marvel's good enough.
But that's just it. You can't do that. You have to, like, Rob doesn't even do that anymore. Though you can't buy by franchise. You have to buy by who's doing the books.
Right.
Because they could have terrible people on whatever franchise. There could be one or two books. But you can't just dip your toe in like a Spider-Man book, an Avengers book, and an X-Men book, regardless of who's
I'm
doing
not dipping my toes because I grew up reading about 25 different titles at once.
Right.
Because they were all in the anthology. But there are a few that I notice if they're good enough. And I keep Spider-Man out of it because Spider-Man for many years was consistently the same in narrative form. So I don't need it to be so we can use it as an average basis. But to me, I use the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and Daredevil to figure out if Marvel was good overall.
But you can't do that. You have to.
It kind of worked.
Like I said, that's 3 comics out.
Yeah, but it kind of worked. I don't know
if it worked. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that worked. If you think Marvel Comics has been bad for the last 10 years, I don't think your methodology worked. Because I'd say Marvel Comics has been the same over the last 10 years that they were the 10 years before. They were a bunch of people trying to make the best comics they can, sometimes succeeding, sometimes failing. Like, when I read those 15 Marvel comics, I really didn't expect 5 of them to be pretty good. Just because I haven't read Marvel comics in so long. And if I pick up one Marvel comic, odds are, when you think about that, like I said, I picked up those 15 comics. 5 were good, 5 were okay, and 5 were, I think 2 of the 5 were unreadable. So if you were to pick 3 comics, your odds are only one of them will be good. But I think Marvel's always been like that.
I'm not picking 3 comics to read. I'm picking 3 comics as a gauge.
You're not even reading them?
No. I read more, but those 3 are the gauge. Okay. It doesn't matter what if the other ones are good. If these 3 are bad,
your gauge is small.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not because there's a way to tell stories with these characters that
there's a way to tell stories with these characters. That's also because you came in at a certain time. Like I said, I've been listening to this my whole.
No, but I'm an amateur historian. I always wanted to find out what happened before I was born.
Me too. But that doesn't mean you'll like the stuff that comes after you were born. My favorite Spider-Man is Ditko. That came out before I was born, but I wasn't old enough to read. I didn't read that till I was a teen. But once again, if we start reading comics when we're young, that's when everything is fresh, new, and exciting. 20 years later, there's no way everything is going to be fresh, new, and exciting. Like the comics that Wilson loves are the comics that made me stop buying Marvel comics because they weren't fresh, new, and exciting. If you start reading comics when you're 12, by the time you're 22, you've got a decade of comics reading. And it's never going to be fresh, new, and exciting as it was when you were discovering all the concepts. And to me, it's that period, what you just said before, there's a way of telling the stories with the character that completely depends on which period you started
Sure,
reading those comics.
but it took me 35 years to read an Avengers comic and say this is boring. And I think, and
I don't know what Avengers. It didn't take me that long. It took me till just over Avengers 200. Those issues with Gene Colan, holy cow, were they boring?
well, the Brazilian publishers skipped the between 200 and 227. So yeah, I get it, but I still think that Larry Hama's comics were not as good as the. Okay, I remember Roger Stern quit. Roger Stern quit. Walter Simonson came in for a while. He couldn't find the momentum. Then we had John Byrne, and while those John Byrne stories weren't exciting, they were typical Avengers stories, which could be enjoyed even if they were not amazing. Larry Hama's run comparatively was a lot slower, and when Bob Harris came in, while not setting the world on fire, there was a there was a certain spark that was attractive. And when I go back to Bob Harris's stories, I actually find that the whole of the run is much more interesting as a complete run than I thought at the time.
But listen to what you're saying. You're talking creators.
Of course, I'm talking creators.
I know that, but that's what I mean when you say.
And that gets to the point where we have right now. Anyone writing for Marvel in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s was better than anyone writing for Marvel now.
I don't know that.
I do.
I don't, because half of those writers you just mentioned I thought were terrible. Bob Harris, terrible. John Byrne's Avengers, terrible.
It's
Larry
John Byrne's best work, but it's
never even read it.
Yeah.
It depends on when you read it.
Right, but considering that people love Larry Hama for his GI Joe work, sometimes the writer's not the writer's not ideal for that franchise, or they're not there at the right time.
I'm just saying, the work they did to me is the same as the work that the quality wise is the same as the work that's going on now. It's just people trying to do their best to make a corporate comic.
What happened before the Big Bang?
It was probably Sheldon. Yes. Sheldon.
Yes, it was. To be alive when Howard Chaykin's American Flag first came out was awesome.
Well, that was good stuff. And that's another, when I talk about corporate comics, I would say that, like, because when we think of exciting comics, once again, it's usually in our youth because everything's fresh and new to us. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think once you reach the full corporate comic stage, which I think DC did in like the 50s, mm-hmm. you no longer innovate except in sort of corporate innovation, marketing. Like Superman's our bestseller. Let's give him more Superman. Let's give him Supergirl. Let's give him Superboy. That's what innovation becomes. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that like Marvel was only able to innovate in the 60s because Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, to a lesser extent, being tremendously talented, Stan Lee wanting to take advantage of that talent so he could possibly become rich and famous, and a shallow corporate structure, because there was no corporate structure except like Stan Lee reported right to Martin Goodman.
Right, exactly. I worked for a newspaper when that thing was, although although it was partly owned by the big media corporation, mm-hmm. the way that specific company, that specific shell company was set up, there was really only one person in charge. Mm-hmm. So we we were kind of free to operate in a way that we were no longer after we were fully integrated into the
Right.
big corporation.
That is when you
So,
can innovate.
right,
And I think that's why Marvel in the 60s came up with all these new characters and all this new stuff.
right,
And I'd say that even lasted
sure,
into the 70s.
right, because you have Martin Goodman.
Right.
Ultimately, Martin Goodman didn't care if you Martin Goodman was
Yeah.
the guy. Okay, that thing is selling, let's copy it. But he didn't care
Right.
if you innovated, provided you made money. And
Right.
since he was the owner and he was the sole owner, yeah, do what you want as long as you make me money. But the more people you have, the not only do you have more owners to report to,
Hmm.
you also have a lot of people who are not owners who have jobs
Right.
that need to that need things to happen. So you have to make sure that you're important to the structure, and then all of a
Right.
sudden they start getting into the creators' faces.
Right. The
This needs
creators
to
are
happen.
just trying to make good comics,
Yeah.
but it gets tougher. Like I would say Marvel's innovation period was over by Jim Shooter and Secret Wars. Like Secret Wars to me is a corporate
Yeah.
marketing innovation.
Mhm.
It's oh, kids like superheroes. Let's put all our superheroes in one book. And I would even say, and I was thinking about this too. Some of the more current, like, and they're part. And what it is too is that the people you hire to do the books want a job. The creative people want a job, so they came up with innovate, like all these forms of Wolverine. They're not ordered to come up with that stuff, but they know if they come up with Wolverine Junior, somebody's going to like it.
Mhm.
They know to follow the path of least resistance. And I would say one of the Civil War was a corporate innovation.
Yeah.
Uh, these superheroes are because despite let's see,
Yeah, yeah, I can get it, but David Lapham's Stray Bullets uh, is completely author derived.
yeah,
So it's
that indie stuff
Lapham.
can be creative and
Yeah, it's
innovative,
Lapham writing, drawing, and publishing.
right?
Everything is under his control. He doesn't have to report to anyone.
Yeah, that's why
So
I like indie books.
it's all on him. If he succeeds, it's all on him.
Right. He
Secret
Secret
Wars
Wars,
was absolutely amazing.
exactly. I was 22, so I hated Secret Wars.
I was 7 and I hated Secret Wars.
But that Secret Wars is something that appeals to kids. That's why they came up with it. They were like, that's the book that got Wilson into collecting
Sure,
comics. He loved
it,
it.
it was
I
meant to
understand that.
appeal. It was meant to appeal to me,
Yeah.
but it sounded even at 7 years old. It looked forced.
Yeah.
Let's get all the heroes together and then Battle World. This is
Yeah. It's
not a
just
superhero comic. You're not fighting
so you
for
were
anything
saying
important.
you were you
It's a
were
wrestling match.
you were a jaded 20-year-old when you were 7.
No, I was not. And
At
it
least when
didn't
it came
come.
to Secret Wars.
It's a wrestling match without all the pre-fight drama.
But like Civil Wars, despite so many people saying, especially about movies, the interesting character is always the most interesting character is always the villain. Villains don't sell any comic books. Except
Right.
maybe the Joker, maybe Doctor Doom, but in general, villains don't sell comic books. So that's why they came up, probably why they came up with, once again, it's a corporate solution. Let's have the heroes fight the heroes. And that's why so much, like Rob was just telling me he's enjoying a couple of the new X-Men books. And in one of them, Cypher is now the villain of the book, which happens all the time in comic books now. The heroes become villains, the villains become heroes. Because people really like the heroes, so may as well have the Avengers fight the X-Men. That way we get the Avengers guys and the Avengers fans and the X-Men fans. So that's sort of like the innovations we get in comics now are corporate innovations. What's the absolute the DC stuff, Absolute
Yeah.
Batman, Absolute
Mhm.
Superman, which they're the best selling stuff out there right now.
Sure.
So people are liking it creatively, but at its heart, it's a corporate
Yeah.
innovation. It's let's do something different with these same characters.
Mhm.
It's not a creative innovation. It's a marketing innovation.
Right.
Despite the fact that the
We've
creators are being
we've seen
creative with it.
Elseworlds. We've seen Elseworlds.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hello there.
Yeah, i- the I forgot where I was going.
But like I said, my idea was Marvel Comics and DC Comics haven't been particularly bad in the last 10 years. They've both been making corporate comics for a long time. It's just that I think at a certain age, people stop liking corporate comics that aren't even them anymore. And they perceive that they're not as good as they used to be. But I think they're about the same. As someone who hasn't bought Marvel or DC comics since the mid 80s, I think they're about the same quality wise. And like I said, in my breakdown of Marvel and DC comics, my breakdown years ago, my breakdown is still the same. About a third of them are good, a third of them are meh, and a third of them are terrible.
Yeah.
But that means if you buy any one comic, you only have a 1 in 3 chance of it being really good.
I
Otherwise,
know.
it's meh or terrible.
I think that the actual talented writers and artists are figuring out sooner that they have no future in the corporate world,
That
and
I would
that's why Image has been absorbing a lot of the guys that normally would be writing superheroes for quite a while.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just have to I've just never paid attention. So,
Mhm.
um to who's writing comics but a lot of them are going back too. I just heard someone complaining about Joshua Williamson written something this week
Mhm.
where he's been writing some comics I've bought for the last decade from Image Comics. I think he wrote Birthright and so it's like sometimes they go do their own indie comic stuff and then they go back to Marvel.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't. I'd have to see a chart of that, but no one's
Yeah, I
ever
think
going to make it.
they're 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 t-
Too
they're
much
taking a
work
pay cut.
for no reason.
Uh, and here's the thing, I don't have the same degree of interest that I for the Hanna Barbera cartoon properties
Yeah, I never
that you
did.
guys have over there in the United States.
Yeah.
But I am enjoying reading Space Ghost and the Herculoids. And I always thought that the Herculoids was boring in the original cartoon.
Well, I think some of that licensed stuff can be like, especially for things like Herculoids and Space Ghost.
And I think they're
Um,
doing a better job at attracting the more talented writers and artists
I don't know
in
about
the
artists, but right, I hear a lot of and I'll show you one here. A lot of the problems I hear with those licensed books from Dynamite or IDW or whoever is that they spend the money on the writer and then the artist is they got
Mm,
no much, they can't really hire the best talent.
the Herculoids artist is not super spectacular, but he's good at storytelling.
Yeah.
And although his style is probably not what you expect of the Herculoids, is not out of place in that story.
But I also think stuff like that is, I don't want to say easy to do, but
It's not. It's,
you can you can
I think
reach a
it's.
certain level of quality with it
Mhm.
because not a lot is expected of it. So if you put down a good story, a good like solid one issue, and they're all like mini series, so it's not going on forever. It's always being relaunched.
Sure.
I mean, you could wreck it. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying if you as a writer can come up with a good Herculoid story, you like the there's nothing complicated about a Herculoid story.
Right.
There's nobody invested like people were invested in Peter Parker and Mary Jane. There's no one invested like that in the Herculoids.
Sure.
There's people who like them.
Iran is saying
Yeah.
I'm liking the Blue Falcon and Dynamite. I'm not reading that one. And looking forward to Thunder the Barbarian.
Yeah.
That thing's going to be interesting because since Thunder was designed by Kirby, there's going to be some interest in how it's going to be handled.
Right.
Which is not exactly true of all the other ones because there's a way to draw Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and none of them are leaning into it. In fact, the Space Ghost is very much inspired on the Joe Casey, Ariel Olivetti miniseries that DC put out a few years ago.
And also, all this stuff is licensed, so it's got nostalgia, and it's all new comics in terms of. Do you think anybody's going to be as interested in Herculoids issue 57?
I'm not sure. It's up to 14, so.
Was
I
that?
know it's up to 14. Space Ghost has been relaunched because they're doing sort of seasons.
Right.
Herculoids so far has been an ongoing series. I think it's finally going to have a new number one because they kind of.
Because they have to now.
Yeah, but and then we have the King Feature stuff because Flash Gordon has been doing very well.
That's Mad Cave, right?
That's Mad Cave. And we have the Phantom now. And then, of course, so we also have the Transformers, and everybody's loving what Daniel Warren Johnson is doing there.
Right. But that's I think, once again,
these are
the
trademarks.
Structure there is shallow.
Sure, but those are trademarks. You have to answer to the licensor because you can't do things that might hurt the brand.
I know, but stuff like that, it's easy. It's a lot easier than dealing with actors who have likeness rights. When you're when you're not dealing with someone like Lucasfilms, who has all their own plans for the characters. I'm sure whoever owns the copyright, who's it? Hasbro owns Transformers.
Yep.
They have no plans for Transformers world movie.
Oh, they do. They do.
Well, they do, but they don't matter.
Well, the Transformer.
They gave them up already. I think
the Transformers needs a movie reboot. And they don't have a cartoon right now. I'm not sure if they want one. I think that it's at this stage. I think that companies like Hasbro or King Features or even Hanna-Barbera, because they're no longer dependent on. They no longer feel dependent on DC. To have their comics because it's our company at Warner, so we'll just do the comic ourselves. They're not thinking like that. And
there's much less meddling.
Sure, but I think if it's successful in this niche market, they think they probably can have a good basis to create something that's more far-reaching, that's based on these takes, these modern takes, who will appeal to a new modern audience if they are able to turn it into movies. Because you don't want to go back to the 60s and 70s to create a new Herculoids TV series or movie. So it might as well do something that resonates with the people now, that it can turn to people, that it can resonate with the people 5 years from now. And since in a way comic book readers are more interested in exploring new content avenues than the mainstream viewers of television and cinema.
And it's a lot cheaper to explore new avenues.
So it's like what I'm saying is that they're going the punk route with having these stories appear in comics now, so that they become pop when they get turned into movies in 5 or 10 years' time.
Mm-hmm. They did have plans,
Yeah, they were very corporate.
Right. They couldn't, especially the Star Wars comics in the Marvel one, they couldn't do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I built on Hercules because I wasn't digging it. And Mal says I'm getting the issue. Yeah, if you remember the cartoon, the original cartoons, and you were close to the age they were supposed to be watched, the nostalgia bait is not gonna work.
Yeah.
These Hercules are not the cartoon Hercules. That is why I like them, because I did not like the original Hercules cartoons. And, and I saw a lot of those in the 90s when I was already a late teen. But I liked Space Ghost. I didn't like Hercules. I liked Dino Boy. I like Johnny Quest. I even like the new Johnny Quest, even though some people didn't like it. The people like the original Johnny Quest. They didn't like the new Johnny Quest. I never liked Dynamite and Blue Falcon. It was always too jokey for me. So even now, if you try to update it, I'm not going to go after it.
Mhm.
But there were a few that I liked better than the others, and that's not necessarily what would inspire me to pick up a comic with them. Hercules had an interesting premise, but I don't think the original cartoon was that interesting. But Space Ghost had everything that I liked, and it still does.
Space Ghost.
There was a... You can't mention the rabbit anymore. You remember the Star Wars rabbit in the Star Wars?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You can't mention but you can't mention the rabbit. White has plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Of course. Yes, yes. But that does happen. That does happen in publishing. You start off with a base plan, and then you adapt according to sales. So unless your plan was completely off the mark, which means you get canceled. But if something's working and something's not working, you adapt, and people will stay.
And speaking of licensed comics, I picked one up this week.
Ooh,
The second issue of Supernatural.
nice.
I think I got the third issue on order too, because it's been I've had to pre-order them before the issue came. Usually an issue comes out and then it's final order cut off for the next issue. So there's what, 1, 2, 3. There's 4 artists, so that gave me pause when I saw that. I was like, 4 artists on the second issue? That doesn't fill me with confidence. But it was okay. The art was fine. The art actually got better. There's Thundar the Barbarian coming out, and Thundercats.
Yeah, Thundercats is not. I like the original Thundercats. Anything done with Thundercats after that, I don't like.
There's a whole big Thundercats ad.
Yeah, because Jim Mooney.
Omnibus.
Yeah, Jim Mooney drew a lot of those, and those stories. And Mooney was a good visual storyteller. And I think Michelini adapted some of the cartoon episodes into the comic.
And this was solidly okay.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Pak is doing the writing, and he's a solid writer.
Yeah, I love Greg Pak.
But it's far different from a Supernatural TV show in that both first 2 issues are done in one stories. So I think this is only 20-page story. Oh, maybe even less. Let me see. Oh, geez, they got ads in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-page story. So they had a whole Supernatural in 21 pages. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just very much a comic book and not the TV show. I once heard someone say stuff like the comic books of a TV show or a movie or maybe a book. You're always looking for the reason you buy the comic book of the TV show is you're looking for more of the TV show, and it's never more of the TV show because it's a different medium. And that is very apparent with Supernatural. It was a nice, solid story, but it's not the TV show. It is nowhere near the complexity of the TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Well, the it's not easy to adapt the something to another medium. It's not just a question
Yeah,
of adapting to the comic. If you adapt, because we complain about the comic being adapted into the movies, and the
right,
same
right,
thing. And the same thing sometimes kind of happens to the novels, because not every Star Trek novel is good.
right.
Some are good, some are definitely not.
And also, this one takes place after season one.
Hmm.
So they're keeping it simple with that too. So it's like, it's not a continuation of the show or in season 14 when everything was even more complex. They're going back to the simplest year. So,
Hmm.
but is it worth $5? I'm not sure.
I get it.
Because it's a different
Of
medium.
course, transmedia canonical verisimilitude. It doesn't have to be canonical. It just has to be spiritually similar.
Yeah. And this very much reads like a 21-page comic book aimed at a general audience.
Hmm.
Uh, just I mean it's hard to describe because I haven't read a comic book like that in so long. Uh, but there's no, like I said, everything's wrapped. There's a beginning, middle, and end in 21 pages, and you just don't get that much in comics anymore. But I could see like a Supernatural fan could pick up an issue and maybe read it.
Hmm. You don't even get that on regular television anymore because
No, you didn't
every
get that at Supernatural at the end. That's for sure. They had
the ongoing
season
storyline in
long
comics.
storylines. So
Yeah, you know that when the X-Files started doing the ongoing storyline, when everybody followed suit,
yeah.
you just know that Chris Carter liked comics.
That's why
Because,
I always say about the TV show Buffy.
Mhm.
I forget what years it ran, but I think it was late 90s to early 2000s, right? It
Yeah,
coincided with Joe Quesada being editor in chief or whatever he was at Marvel when he said we don't care about continuity anymore. And my criticism of that was the rest of the TV watching world was just discovering continuity with Buffy.
yeah.
So Marvel decided to abandon it. And I'm just like, continuity was just getting really, important. Where's our beloved Wilson tonight? I don't know. I haven't heard from him.
Hmm. Yeah, he didn't see the. I don't think he saw the message yet. Let me check again. Uh,
He could be doing Thanksgiving stuff. He's definitely not teaching. Yeah, I'm pretty sure no school is holding classes
mhm.
tonight.
And Shane, dude.
Uh-huh.
Chris did see the message because I see here that he saw it, but I'm not sure if he has time or not.
We'll see. I was thinking on that whose show were you on last? I can't even remember whose channel it was. I follow them, but the
Comic
one
Read.
who I was like I think Paolo is the Chris of this show right now because there were 6 people on it, so it's harder to talk and you as Chris always calls this is a podcast you can talk back to. That's kind of what you were doing.
Mhm. Yeah, well, it's not easy for me to try to dominate the conversation
Yeah,
if
there's
the
6 people. You
yeah
have to sit back.
because I always have an opinion on anything
Yeah.
on something and I'll tell you that opinion and if the other people don't have very strong opinions I can
Uh,
dominate the conversation. There was the other guy who had a very strong opinions on fantasy novels. So, but it was
yeah.
an interesting conversation because he was also trying to talk to the other Canadian guy, Jean Malo, uh, who did not like manga. And I'm very picky about my manga. You should think that a guy who likes superheroes would be all up for what what's the thing that Dragon Ball is?
I don't know. It's Dragon Ball,
Not
as
the,
far as I know.
no. There's a term
Ah,
for action series aimed at teenagers.
oh, okay. I don't
Shonen,
even know. Oh,
shonen.
shonen? That's what
Yeah,
shonen means?
yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard that. I've just always like Shonen Jump. I've never wondered what
yeah.
shonen meant.
Shonen is the comic for adolescents who like to see people getting their ass kicked.
Okay.
So yeah, it's for superhero. So it's like reading superheroes. Except that I don't like shonen because I don't like the story. I really have a problem with the storytelling tools, which are somewhat cultural, that they use in
Mhm.
shonen. And so I kind of need manga to be a little more story focused, and you usually get that in science fiction. I was supposed to get it in horror because a lot of people like the comic about the snails.
The spirals.
Yeah, and not
Yeah.
spiral.
I
What
like
was it?
those ones too. I can't remember his name, but I bought a few of his stuff.
Yeah, but in science fiction you do get good stories. Even Attack on Titans that has a premise that I'm not really interested in.
That
People like to praise the writing on Attack on Titans, but when you go down to Shonen, I just can't get into any of that. I every everybody my age watched Dragon Ball when it came out here, the cartoon, and we were like 15,
oh,
and they
you could,
all loved it, and
oh
I
my,
couldn't stand it.
you would not believe the Marvel bullpen when Dragon Ball came out.
I
Holy
knew
cow!
because I
They,
had to deal with all of my schoolmates going on. Did you
yeah,
see
but
the episode?
they were all in
I
their
didn't
mid
need.
20s to late 20s.
Yeah, these were 15, and I didn't
You'd
even need to.
expect that from 15-year-olds. They
Yeah,
would
I didn't even
argue.
need,
Did you
but
see what
I wouldn't
happened?
need to
Oh
watch.
man!
Yeah, and of course, even without watching it, you knew everything that was going on because they would all have to tell you what happened.
And then they would discuss endlessly who could beat who up.
Yeah,
Goku could beat everyone up. He could beat everyone. He could beat him
yeah.
up. Oh my god! One Punch Man could beat everyone up. That was years later. I
But
like
I didn't like Saint Seiya. You remember Saint Seiya?
no.
It was the thing about the guys who were powered by the Zodiac. But turns out
Okay.
I think was little more than a wrestling gimmick. It was supposed to be cosmic, and but no, they were just wrestling.
I always thought like the Zodiac that appeared in Marvel comics back in the 70s was pretty cool, but they never did anything.
That's only smell something. uh,
Wilson.
the Zodiac cartel, they were kind of, everybody wanted to write the Zodiac
Yeah.
because they appear in Daredevil, they appear in Ghost Rider, they appear in the Avengers, they appear in the Defenders.
They appeared everywhere, and like
Yeah.
we're never that interested. I always wanted them to be more interesting than they were, because there's a
Yeah,
lot of
and
history behind the Zodiac.
right. I guess Roy Thomas probably we have a Scorpio. Let's do the whole zodiac.
Yeah,
I'll do all the zodiac signs. But it's not.
and
He,
the funny
Sterenko.
the funniest thing was when you'd see them like all together at a headquarters, because
Hmm.
each one of them had like a super wacky outfit.
Oh yeah.
And that didn't fit together, and
No,
there was no overall theme to their outfit.
no, and even
I,
the outfit, it didn't really mean. Okay, so this guy's Capricorn. Why?
yeah, it made no sense. I always wanted them to be cool, and they never were.
I
Oh,
liked Cancer, even though the fashion sense left a lot to be desired. Just the fact that he had pincers, that made sense. He even had sort of a something that looked like a crab's head for a mask, and so that kind of, so even though it was silly, it's kind of Electro's outfit. It works, but some of the
oh,
other guys, Capricorn did not work. Libra didn't work. Uh, Aries worked, Taurus worked, Virgo did not work. Aquarius, boring.
yeah,
Yeah,
They didn't fit together. Though
Yeah,
the worst supervillain outfits that fit together were, of course, from DC, the Royal Flush Gang,
mm.
wearing giant card placards. What was that?
What were they thinking? I mean, if you just push them, they would fall down, and they had no leverage to get up because that thing would just get in the way of them trying to get up. It wasn't even
Placard. I think they
flexible.
eventually changed to regular outfits, like outfits
Yeah,
with the design, but they were wearing
yeah. Look,
placards like for a while.
Zodiac versus Serpent Society, which was better? Why didn't they fight each other? Ah, but Serpent Society, they had a health plan. Zodiac didn't.
I thought the Serpent Society generally had some cool serpent themed villains in it.
Yeah,
I don't think they were as disjointed as the Zodiac.
right. Because in the Zodiac, they were all supposed to be crime cartel leaders, and
Yeah.
they all got together. And
And
because they were all
yeah.
crime, it's a bit like you do a meeting of all the 5 families, and they all agree not to kill each other, and that's what the Zodiac was. But when Sidewinder got all of the snake villains together, okay, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. These are the jobs available. I will coordinate, and everybody gets a piece of the action. And everyone gets a health plan, and I have a way to get all of you guys out of jail. What else do you need? I mean, it's a functioning franchise model, and everybody gets to keep their uniforms.
Yep. I found a couple of interesting covers out in the garage in Jerry's comics this week that I figured I'd actually keep and add to my bought for their covers section, even though I didn't buy them. These are from around 2000.
Whoa. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, Mark Miller on Vampirella, yeah.
And I think this is Mike Mayhew. Mike Mayhew doing the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know him more from like selling artwork on eBay than I ever knew his comic books. He like sells original art on eBay for years. He's been doing it, and original drawings. But I liked that one. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to keep that one. And the other one was Vampy.
Ooh.
Shiny.
Yeah, I remember in 2001 when we finally had Marvel again. It was a failure on the newsstands.
Kevin Wow penciler.
Yeah, exactly. And then they they got the rights to Vampy and put it out, and they were quite surprised that Vampy was their best seller.
Harris Comics. This is from.
Yeah.
There's a centerfold too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the copy of the trade paperback, the cover of the trade paperback.
I just kind of liked the shiny drawing, so I'm like, I'll keep this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I decided to try out some of my removable tape instead of my painter's tape. It does not work. It's not good. I'm going to pass. I'm going to take off. This isn't Scotch tape. This is low tack removable tape. That just broke. But it is not durable enough to open and close a comic book.
Yeah, might as well use a Post-it note.
Yeah. Now, Post-it note would be more durable.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the put a board in the middle so I can see both sides. I usually don't use boards except on the ones I keep just for their covers because I'll look through them more than I will my other comics. But if it's a wraparound, I'll get a slightly larger bag and put the board in the middle. That's my method. Because I don't care how mint condition they're in. Sure. I don't know if the board in the middle, will ruin them or not. But
yeah. You know what? what would be the least acceptable that you'd consider very, very good? Because not the official definition.
The least
But
acceptable for what?
i- this is readable and keepable and works fine.
The Sal Buscema line?
No, the what grade?
Oh, grade.
Yeah.
Um, I don't care. I keep crappy. I've got a hold on a second. They're right over here. I've got a section
Mm.
for the crappiest comics.
Yeah. I think if it's really old, like 50 years old, 4.0, but
Conan 18.
yeah,
And these are comics that were too crappy for somebody. Fantastic 438. I think a YouTuber sent me some of these. All of a sudden I can't remember his YouTube name. He hasn't been on YouTube in a while. And also Bob Wyachek gave me some. There's Conan 17. Once again, I'm not even taking these out of their bags to look through.
right.
Because they're crumbly. Actually, there's one in here. Oh, that one didn't even make it into a bag.
Oh my god.
That one's falling
Yeah, that's
apart.
not. Yeah.
There. Oh, this is. Actually, where is mine? This isn't. That's me.
Oh yeah.
A big
This is
chunk
good.
down there.
Right.
But I got no reason to get these. Yeah, Classics Illustrated, War of the Worlds.
Nice.
You don't want to look through them.
That's actually not bad. I think it's out of the staple, but apart from that, it's not bad. I mean, if the cover's detached, but all the pages are together, I think it's good.
Yeah. Here is the worst condition Nom number 4 you'll ever see.
Oh yeah, that's actually quite rare to see a Nom comic that bad. You should charge more for that one.
So I actually will keep comics in bad condition.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But, just for the heck of it.
Sure. I mean, 4 is still good enough, but and to me, a 6.5 is way more than acceptable. A 6.5 is a very good comic to me.
And of course, I have my Human Fly number 1, 2.0.
Oh yeah, yes. Your art project.
The only 2.0 out there that's been slabbed. So this is one of one.
Ah, that's rare. That's a key. A key slab. It's not a key.
Slab.
It's not a key comic. It's a key slab.
Key slab. If you want your own, you'd have to be a lunatic.
Yeah, which gets us back to the discussion on why lower grade comics should be more expensive than the higher grade comics when it comes to moderns.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Yep. With the only problem being you can manufacture lower grade.
You can, but nobody wants.
If they actually were more expensive, I'm saying.
Right, but nobody actually wants to do that. Nobody wants. I'm going to kick this comic around because it'll be more expensive as a 4.0. Nobody actually thinks that.
Yeah. Nope.
So if it's an actual 4.0 that somebody kicked around,
right,
it's rarer and should be more expensive.
That which was it? It was a Walking Dead number 1 that someone had in the back of their car for years. Did you ever hear that story?
Nah.
Some guy bought Walking Dead number 1, read it, threw it in his trunk or the back of his car, and forgot about it for a year or 2 until he heard it was a valuable comic, and he went out to his trunk and got it and sent it in to CGC.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I forget what the grade was, 0.5, 1, 2, whatever it was. Because
is that bad?
Yeah.
You can kind of forget a comic in the trunk of your car and not be that damaged.
Oh, yeah, you can. If you're one of you don't understand how some people treat their cars. My friend Ed,
I
If
kind of
he
do.
threw I have seen comics in his back seat of his car
Oh.
that are 6 months old and are a .5
Ooh.
because he lives out of his car sometimes, and
Ah.
I mean not literally, but he has no time to clean it up, and he just keeps throwing things back there.
Mhm.
Matter of fact,
Yes.
when I recently the week that I wasn't here, recently when I was doing the event up in Poughkeepsie, I went with Ed, and I drove up to his apartment, and then I also had to drive to the event because I couldn't fit in his car, along with all the stuff we were bringing, because there was too much of a mess. So you can wreck a comic pretty quickly in a car like that. But eventually he put it up for auction. I think Robert Kirkman bought it, is how the story ends. For way too much money, as Robert Kirkman said. He overspent on it. The lowest graded Walking Dead #1 out there.
Okay. Walking Dead Forgotten in a Truck is as Walking Dead as Walking Dead ever was. That's right. That's a good observation. The zombie comic. As zombie as the zombies.
Mm-hmm. Let's show you another comic that's not quite a zombie comic. It's Feral, the cat zombie comic. Issue number 18. Who's this by? Tony Fleece, Trish Forrester, Tone Rodriguez, Brad Simpson on the cover. The color, I don't know who. This is the one that it's sort of a huge rabies outbreak in the Northwest. So it's kind of, and so the rabies rabid animals stand in for the zombies. And we got our first human sighting in at least a year, I think. Because the humans have just like killed all the animals in the area, and they're trying to, I don't know, disinfect it. It's all in lockdown. But in the last story arc, they made their way into this pet city, but there were already cats there, and there's this, first they had to try to blend in with the cats, but then the cats were crazy, so they had to try to save themselves, and they took over. And now one of the where is it? One of our gang of cats is now taking over Pet City, and he's being a petty tyrant about taking over Cat City. So now the other cats are going to have to rebel against him, all while they're trying not to die. And the foreshadowing of those people was, we ought to go check out that Pet City. Has it been checked out? So at some point, maybe the humans are going to make their way back to that Pet City. But good zombie story told with cats.
Aaron Zero says Dead Trunk Edition.
Drunk edition.
And Donald Rex says, I bought a Camera Comics #4 Golden Age to different, maybe 245, maybe 2.0. Do show it in your next video, please. I want to see that. I've never heard of Camera Comics.
No.
But if it's from one of those not as well-known publishers from the era, I'm not very familiar.
And here's the question I have for you. Are you going to do what I do with them and look through them once and tuck them into some Mylar and never plan on looking at them again because they're too delicate, and you're happy just to take it out every now and then and look at the cover? Because I with a 2.0 from the Golden Age, I don't imagine that would last many readings.
No, but you can if you're careful.
Yeah, but who wants to be that careful? Is the value of reading it then, like, the value of reading those comics? I don't think is, if I really wanted to read them, like I could probably get a better place easily.
I think someone like Donald is would know how to do it.
Yeah, but would he? I'm saying would he want to go through that?
He would. I mean, the way he talks about all the Charlton stuff means he knows how to treat the comics.
Yeah. But isn't he also making his own versions of them?
Right.
So he never has to look through them.
Yeah. No, well, Well, he does in order to be
I
famous.
would think that he's looking through his hardcovers he makes from them rather than the original comics.
Yeah, the Goblin loves his beta breeders. Well, yeah,
Something like that.
that's how you buy cheap comics.
Yeah.
Lois Lens. Oh my god.
Camera Comics, Lois Lane.
Now I'm definitely interested in knowing more about it.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Hmm.
There's a lot of Golden Age comics that we know nothing about.
Yeah, yeah. And since I'm mostly a Marvel historian, I'm always kind of curious about all the funny animals that they put out when Stan Lee was in the army not doing anything, and
Uh-huh.
the funny animals were made by Vince Fago and his friends. Uh, and there's a whole lot of rabbits in there. It's not a super rabbit. There are about 3 or 4 rabbits and 2 or 3 pigs. Uh, and the fact that Silly Seal and Ziggy Pig were the standouts was a kind of a was kind of unexpected, I would say. But they had other stuff. They had something called they had a buck duck, a Posty the pelican. Um, they had a what was it? Widget witch, and the broom had a name too. It was called Diogenes. Uh, the the comics with lions didn't last long. I think it's amazing that I know all this stuff. I'm not supposed to care about it.
Diogenes. On my TikTok, a woman who wrote a book on Diogenes, the Greek philosopher, just popped up. So there's a new book out on Diogenes.
Yeah, Donald's read it, so the pages are not too bad. Probably won't read the.
Yeah.
Well, if you've read it once, you can say you read it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. When you buy these low grade comics, you read it once and then you're happy just to have it around.
It's to be Bugs Bunny.
Huh.
Do you think of your comics as art supplies? I mean, in terms of getting inspiration from them and seeing proctor stuff from them.
And the fact that
Yeah, then you give them away.
I
Proctor
don't
stuff, no
really see them as
production
art
stuff.
supplies, production stuff. I don't really I don't know that I see them as I certainly can get some inspiration from them. But I'm a reader. I love reading comics more. So reading comics is number one with me before collecting comics and before them being for reference or inspiration. So the number one thing I like to do with comics is read them. That drives everything. There are, of course, some comics I just collect, but that's kind of rarer than like these ones right here. I'm just collecting these.
Hmm.
I don't even care to read them. I just like the covers. They were out in my garage. That's how they're free.
Yeah,
My
should have
friend
kept them.
Jerry gave me a pile of comics I've never
Yeah,
looked through. So
should have kept
these,
them in the trunk of your car.
there we go. So these are pure collection.
Hmm.
But number one, I go to the comic shop every week. I get my comics and I read them. So I will occasion. You know what? I think I would buy like books more for like books of comics more for inspiration. I might say, oh, I need some. I want to look at like there are artists I want to own some of their work. I think that would be more for inspiration. Like, oh, I need some Neil Adams. Oh, I need some Alex Toth. Oh, I need some. I bought that oversized Batman that Jim Lee just did, whatever that new Hush 2. I bought the first issue of that over at 11 by 17 just to have some new Jim Lee. I'm not even a Jim Lee fan, but I'm like, I don't dislike it, but I'm like, you know what? I want to see some new Jim Lee oversized. So that a little for inspiration, a little just to have artists around. So something like that could be. But I'm always criticizing the production of comics I look at. When I see production mistakes or shoddy production, I'm like, oh man,
Hmm.
comic production. It can be so bad.
New key discretion. That's a trunk key.
That trunk key. that Human Fly is definitely a trunk key at 2.0 and CG Seed.
Yeah, I bought a. There was this anthology that we had in Portugal in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and like half of the comics were reprints of newspaper strips that were black and white, and not all of them that you can buy that you can see for sale are well kept. And by well kept, I have comics that they took out the center pages because they had the funny newspaper strips in those center pages, or there was a poster, and they just left the main story, something like the Phantom or Mandrake, in there. But
Hmm.
even though you kind of buy that for the Phantom, you don't want them to remove the Hagar the Horrible pages.
Huh.
Those are fun too.
Ripped off.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They need to
You
add
need-
trunk key to legal. I try to buy a Golden Age comic every month or so. It's too cool to see them collecting a box. Yeah,
That's
especially
pure
because,
collection.
yeah,
That's
especially because you're not trying to build a run or anything. You just see Golden Age comic and you go for it.
which reminds me, I finally just ordered Walking Dead number 10,
Okay.
which is the last one I need to fill in my 3 through 50 that I sold years ago. So, and that's pure collecting. That's not, and I didn't do that often, but that was pure to make myself feel better collecting.
I'm tempted to grab a few of my cheapo beater books and leave them in a car. I don't have a proper trunk. Oh, do you have a pickup truck?
Well, if you keep your car like my friend Ed does, the back seat works just as well.
Yeah. I'll happily make a counterpart company to fight slab companies. I'll make any comic and send me to Trunky. Yeah. The Trunk Grading Corporation. Trunk approved. This comic is trunk approved.
And I have one Marvel comic this week.
Oh, was it good, average, or bad?
For the Scott Koblish cover, I'd give this one a B. I mean, it's pretty well done.
If it says Marvel Zombies, I'm against it.
That's what I mean when I say that this is not to your taste or mine, but it is not a bad comic, and it's
But it never was.
And it's not going to be to anyone,
of
a certain age or taste.
The Marvel Zombies debuted in Ultimate Fantastic Four. So
Yeah.
I was buying everything Ultimate at the time. And when so we have the Zombie FF in the Ultimate Fantastic Four. Okay. But then they had to do the comic with them. And then they did a sequel to that comic, and then another sequel to that comic.
This actually is pretty interesting because they're getting into, what is this again? Infinity Crusade? And
yeah.
Is that the first one, Infinity Crusade?
It's the third one.
What's the first one?
Infinity Gauntlet.
Infinity Gauntlet territory, where what is happening is, I think the Earth is mostly gone. Silver Surfer shows up in this one, all upset. I believe at one point, where is it? Who is that? The Grandmaster got eaten?
Yep.
But so what's happening is, there's something called the Void, and that's where the zombies are coming from. And the Void is taking over, the galaxy, the universe. I don't even know what. I don't know if the writers know these terms. I don't know these terms anymore. I don't know the difference between a universe, a galaxy, 616. What was it? A reality. I don't know how big this void is. It's like how big things are have lost all meaning to me in these cosmic comics. So the void is taking over, and I think the Earth was mostly defeated now. Doctor Strange is trapped in his astral form while his body is a zombie. Wong is not happy about it. Like some of the superheroes are out in space. That's how they ate the Grandmaster, and So Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer comes to Doctor Strange. And it's like, we got to try and save the universe. Earth is already fallen. He's like, let's get the heroes and try to save them. Doctor Strange is like, the heroes are mostly dead. And they're on the other side. The void has got them. So they get together, Doctor Strange and his ghost Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer, and they find Thanos, who is one stone away from his Infinity Gauntlet. And they pledge loyalty to Thanos if he'll try to defeat the void. So they've got their sort of own Marvel zombie Infinity Gauntlet going here. And they do a pretty good job with it. I mean, it's a pretty... Who's doing this? The old search for the credits in modern comics. Where are the credits? Oh, there we go. They have a blurry credits page. I don't know what that's about. 2 writers, Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan. The artist is Jan Bazadua. Color artist is Eric Archinegan. VC's Travis Land. And I gotta say, I would say this is a good Marvel comic. It's still not to my taste. It's probably not to your taste. It's not to Tim's taste.
If it has zombies, it's definitely not my taste.
But it's not bad at all. Like I said, there's no problem with this comic except it's not aimed at us. I don't know who it's aimed at because I haven't been a Marvel Comics reader in ages. But
I'm not sure. I don't understand why anybody likes that thing. The whole concept is ridiculous.
But people like it, and it's kind of it's a well crafted comic.
Donald Rex has a stack
of Hagar
the Horrible. Yeah, that's the funny comics I usually get forgotten, and there's no reason to. And except for Garfield, which is the one that sucks, but it's the one that's famous.
Mm-hmm.
Hiram Zero was on the Element. Oh man, I remember the Honda Element. Never sold in Europe, of course. It was strictly a U.S. model. Not even the Japanese got it. Yeah, I understand why you say it doesn't have a proper trunk. I have 5 Marvel books on my pull list, and 4 of them are solid to very good. No, they're not. I assure you, they are not.
They are. You just can't admit it.
It has yet to release number 1, so I can comment on it. And Missing Mars is here. Hello.
Hello there.
Missing Mars was also there with in the comic reader stream in the chat.
And I believe that the 5 Marvel books on your pull list are good. Even though they might not be to my taste, I'm not going to say they're bad if I read one and I say, it's a pretty well-crafted comic.
I remember when I tried to get back to Spider-Man and and I bought that thing 5 more months than I should.
Like I said, I'm not saying that Spider-Man comic was good. I don't know it. I'm just saying that there's a difference between my taste and good and bad. And a lot of, especially superhero comic readers, don't realize that.
I don't think that there was anything wrong with what Dan Slott was trying to do. He just wasn't very good at doing it. Somebody else might have run with that idea and it would have worked.
Which series was that? I don't.
It was the Amazing 3 volumes ago, I think.
Because I just remember everyone was outraged at Doc Ock Spider-Man, and then ended up going, "Hey, that was pretty good."
Yeah, I think this was amazing. Like sometime after the reboot to number 500.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a while ago. But I think Christos Gage wasn't ghostwriting that one, so that's why it sucked. You know how it was found out that Dan Slott didn't actually write his comics. Christos Gage was writing them for him.
I don't remember that, but why couldn't he write his own comics? I mean, I've certainly heard that before from freelancers filling in for other freelancers on deadlines. We certainly know Stan Lee didn't write all the comics that he said he wrote.
Oh, and then we have, and now of course we're finding out about Roy Thomas from Neil Adams, from Barry Windsor Smith,
Yeah.
from Claire Noto.
Mm-hmm. Sent him pages of the novel highlighted.
Donald sold my Marvel comics and bought old Crazy Cat pages. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I know there there was there have been collections of Crazy Cat in the last few years.
Were you able to were you able to buy Crazy Cat originals or printed pages? Like I imagine the originals are probably pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And I don't know if King Features kept them, because there have been reprints of those original stories.
Oh, there's plenty of crazy. Matter of fact, last time I read Crazy Cat was just like a year ago, and it was the first time I really liked Crazy Cat. Because Crazy Cat was one of those strips I've tried to read over the years, but it never really grabbed me. But for some reason, the last time I read it, I really enjoyed. And probably one of the reasons was I read it like a Sunday comic. I read a strip and then put it down. That way I could kind of really concentrate on the strip, and it was fun, as opposed to trying to read 40 Crazy Cat strips in a row or whatever it was. But yeah,
I'm not sure I would read 40, but I could definitely read 20 pages of strips.
I don't think I could of Crazy Cat, but at least when I didn't like it. Printed pages. Yes. I de-acidified them myself. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, gotta buy a comic, use it for work.
De-acidified.
Yeah, but I get it. If you want to preserve them, and one day you're the only one left who can reprint Crazy Cat, you should have something ready to go.
I just stumbled onto, I can't remember the TikToker's name, but he does this little TikToks. He's a black guy, and he does these TikToks about white passing Black people Hall of Fame. So he goes through history and tells you who these people who were part black who passed for white in their career. Some of them passed on purpose. Some of them had like Rita Hayworth, I think. I think she was Spanish.
Yeah.
But she was presented as a white person. They didn't mention anything Spanish about her. But George Harriman of Crazy Cat was a black guy who his blackness was never mentioned for a long time. But he was also William Randolph Hearst's favorite cartoonist. That's why he got to do Crazy Cat he got to do whatever he wanted for as many years as he wanted. Because Hearst wanted him in his papers because he loved reading Crazy Cat.
One at a time is the way to read Crazy Cat.
Yeah, I agree with you. You can really concentrate on them and see what's going on and get into the world of that one comic strip.
Yeah, I got something here that's kind of similar to a collection of Sunday pages, but it is because it's French.
And they don't have Sunday in France.
No, that's not how they publish comics. You don't have Sunday pages. There used to be Sunday youth supplements because it was part of the newspaper. They had a 16-page detachable that was aimed at
like
children.
A spirit
yeah. And there would be comics in there, but there wouldn't be a set of one pages that were all comics. But this is something called Joe's Bar. And this was the Portuguese edition, Volume 3. And by volume, it doesn't really matter what volume it is, because it's a collection of one-page stories. And they're all about bikers. So
Mm-hmm.
And these are all one-page gags. So you have four, four strips, and these were actually published in the. Actually, I'm not entirely sure who published this, so let me check because this is sort of independent. Edition Vent d'Ouest. So that doesn't actually tell me who published this in France. It's pretty interesting. I mean, you have a lot of detail, even if it's cartoony. And the guy really likes his motorcycles because these look pretty realistic to me. And but the idea would be that a lot of these were published in Pilote or Spirou or something in the middle of the. So the comics that were going to come out as albums were being serialized, 1 or 2 pages at a time, and in between there would be a gag comic that was 1 page with usually 4 strips because that's how much you could fit in the whole of the page, and though you put those comics as fillers, and after a few weeks you would have enough fillers to make an album of these. So it's a bit like collecting Crazy Cat or Hagar the Horrible. There's also a bit of a change because the first one was like 4, but since it was an entire page, they would change format every once in a while. For example, this one, it's got 3 strips, and this one is a splash page. And it's very inspired by Mordillo, who was the famous cartoonist who drew giraffes. Oh, this one was fun. This is an insurance form in case of an accident, and they did the cartoon is the insurance form. And they had to translate this by hand because this came out in 1994, I think. No, this one came out in 2003. So they already had they already done digitally. Even in the 90s, they would have to print this and cut it up.
Yep.
And then paste it to make it fit into the comic.
Hand paste up was still a thing.
Yeah. And it was like all of a sudden it changed everywhere because all of a sudden everybody got scanners.
Mm-hmm. It took a while. Marvel was way ahead of DC by years.
It's not so much Aragones. So this artist, I assure you, never heard of Aragones. He never read, and I bet he's never read Mad Magazine. The artist was called Stéphane de Tendre, although he signed Fan. So this is a signature. And these guys were fans of Spirou. So they're not very inspired by American gag strips. It's that European. It's a bit like a European comedy cinema. They're not exactly inspired by what's going on in America, so they do their own thing.
Where is Aragones from?
He was born in Spain, but his family immigrated to Mexico when he was 6, so he grew up in Mexico.
I all of a sudden couldn't remember if he was from Spain or Mexico. I had no idea. Both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not part of the Spanish comic scene. Although it didn't really matter because by the 60s and 70s, a bunch of Spanish artists were working for the foreign market. because there are a bunch of publishers everywhere who were looking for cheap artists, and the Spanish were cheap.
The eternal search for cheap artists.
Then they end up doing amazing work, but but they're still cheap.
Yeah.
And the thing that the Spanish they worked more on was the British war comics, but a lot of them have to be identified because they're not signed. And it's not like they wouldn't let them sign. They wouldn't think about it.
Mm-hmm. It was just a job.
Yeah. That's kind of what happens when you do comics in other countries.
Yeah.
It's just a job.
You never see them. Mm-hmm. Never get any feedback.
Yeah. And even in Europe, places like Spain and Italy are not like France, because France and Belgium early on, they even if the artists were being exploited by the newspaper, there was a sense of propriety when dealing with the copyrights. So they couldn't just take over a strip and fire the artist and continue it. The copyright laws were protective of what the artists were doing, and the French and the Belgians also they got into the whole "this is artistic" vibe very quickly. But in Spain, that didn't happen. So they kept on on working for other markets for cheap. And eventually they ended up becoming by the 1980s they were finally coming out and becoming well known, but for many decades they were just there as cheap hands.
Cheap.
Of course, if you go look for late 70s, early 80s issues of Warren magazines, you'll find a lot of them.
Another comic I got this week, Quick Stops Volume 3, Number 4. I didn't even know the first 2 volumes existed. I'm going to have to go find them because this series has been really good. Just stories from the View Askew universe.
Right.
Written by Kevin Smith. This one is art by Ahmad Rafat, Raafat. Letters by Andrew Thomas. And do you know the Clerks movie at all?
I've heard of the Clerks movie. I've only seen one of the Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Okay. Well, this one takes a couple of characters from the Clerks movie, Heather Jones, and what's the guy's name? That guy right there. Oh, that's the two who, and at the beginning, this one woman, Rick Darris, that's the guy, and the woman was the girlfriend of Dante, the lead in the Clerks movie. I forget her name, but at the end of the movie, the first movie, she kind of breaks up with him, and this is the story of her and Rick Darris getting together, eventually getting married, and having a nice little life. And it also, the sister of Dante's girlfriend is the lead in Chasing Amy. So that's her character, who is Alyssa Jones. I think that's her name. Heather Jones is the girlfriend of Dante, who breaks up with him and goes and marries Rick Darris. And Alyssa Jones is the one who stars in Chasing Amy. That's that character. So first we get some of their home life. So most of the book is about takes place like right after Clerks 1. And these two characters and what happens to them. And some of them is Rick Darris going over to Heather and Alyssa's hippie parents' house, and funny stuff happens there. But they're real sort of sweet stories too, that sort of wrap up the View Askew universe for some of these minor characters. And really enjoy it. It's been a very good series. Like I said, it makes me want to go back and find the other volumes because I've really been enjoying these ones. Quick Stops, Volume 3, Number 4. Good stuff. What?
In the meantime, yeah, you know, people don't think of these Clerks comics as if they're based on the movie.
Yeah. There's not a lot of them,
Mhm.
but they
Right.
all are, I think. Yeah, they all fit in with the movies.
Mhm. And I suppose since it's the original creator that's
Yeah,
working on them, he knows how to adapt them to a new
right.
medium and make the story interesting without trying to make it fit into the overall look.
The original creator, who's also a comic book fan.
Right, right. So,
I'm sure if Kevin Costner made a Dances with Wolves comic book, it wouldn't be
mm,
as
right.
well done with
Yeah.
him rashly writing it.
Now, it's that old thing that you try to get people from outside comics to write comics, and they're never that good.
Now, Kevin Smith's generally are though. Like I said,
Yeah, they're passable,
he's written
especially
some
because
good Clerks comics.
right, but he's not trying to sell a Hollywood script every day.
No, no,
So he does know if he wants to do a comic, he'll do a comic.
right.
Uh, but those guys that try to jump around between doing a comic every once in a while and then spending their time in Hollywood. First of all, that whole notion that okay, now that I'm writing for Hollywood, I don't have time to write the comic. Yes, you
Mhm.
do. Yes, you do. You're a professional writer. You compartmentalize your time.
Do some writing, damn it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they're not taking it seriously or even Straczynski stuff. Straczynski wanted to do comics, and sometimes it worked. And we talked about this last week. So,
Yeah.
there was that Ant-Man story made by Bob Gale, written by Bob Gale. Nobody remembers it. But then again, Bob Gale is not a household name. The writer of Back to the Future. Who cares?
Right. Most Hollywood writers aren't that well known
Yeah.
unless you're a writer director.
Or even if you're even from TV, nobody pays attention to whoever wrote
Yeah.
that episode. So,
Mhm.
oh, here I am from TV Land. I'm going to do a comic. Stand aside, comic people. Nobody cares.
Well, there was a time in the early 2000s when
Yeah, and that's what I mean. They did the comic and
they were
nobody.
actually looking for people who were Hollywood writers over at Marvel. I know that.
Yeah, but nobody cared. The Straczynski
The fans
had
didn't care.
yeah, but Straczynski had clout because of the science fiction connection.
Right.
Science fiction fans care who creates their
And
stories.
he had a hit TV show. He had
Babylon 5.
Babylon 5, right.
And that's why people knew who he was, because it's a science fiction show, and
Yeah.
science fiction people know how to talk about their writers. But here's the funny thing that nobody knows. Straczynski used to be the head writer for Murder, She Wrote.
Very successful show.
Yes, but nobody cares that Straczynski was the head writer for Murder, She Wrote. So there's really no interest in that. You pick up some guy who comes from who had come from what, Baywatch or All in the Family or Knight Rider or MacGyver or whatever. Nobody would care. They care. They would care if somebody came over from Star Trek.
Yep.
Or Star Wars or Babylon 5 or maybe Stephen King did a comic, which everyone did very occasionally. But this guy was writing episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful.
Do you think episodes of The Sopranos would make people care? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who wrote The Sopranos.
Neither do I. Besides the producer showrunner, whose name I can't remember right now. It's the only
Thomas Jane.
name David Chase or somebody.
Mm. Thomas James and David Dastmalchian seem to be the other film guys besides Kevin Smith doing interesting comics. There was that guy who did the Psylocke comic during the Krakoa era. He did 3 comics and then he buggered off back to TV Land. The thing is, the guy was very nice. You could interact very well with him on Twitter at the time, and he seemed to really like that. But he didn't know how to compartmentalize the time, so he could have become a good comics writer, but he just didn't commit to it.
You know what it is? Comics have deadlines. They come up like that.
Yeah, but so does TV.
Not only, but when you're on TV, you're with a team. You're usually not a single writer. So, and the deadlines are in seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially today's TV shows that have 12 episodes, you got to come up. And when you're right, I think that I think the way TV used to be done, when there was 24 episodes or whatever, was the writers might get together and I would think they have to write 1 episode a week, but I'm not 100% sure. But nowadays, I think writers can get together and knock out all 8 episodes in, I don't know, a month.
Right.
So
because they have to do a cohesive story. And back in the Murder, She Wrote days, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Straczynski would say to the other guys, okay, just write a story just write a caper, murder mystery. And they would do murder mystery because Jessica Fletcher was the same person from one episode to the next.
So if your team of writers is in there writing for the next 6 weeks, you're not going to be able to get a comic book done.
Right.
I think that might be why they can't do it. I mean, if you just had to write, if you just had to spend 2 days writing a TV show and then a day writing a movie, you could fit a comic book in there. But not when you've got like a team of writers you're working with in a fastest time as possible. You can't have a comic due every month.
Yeah, but you can still compartmentalize. You have to know that, okay, so the TV needs this time and I'm doing this comic. It's like, that there are comic guys who write like 4 4 issues of a comic in 2 weeks, and then they spend the next month writing on something else because they have 4 scripts in the can.
I'm sure there are some guys who could do that, but I'm guessing most can't.
Well, maybe nowadays they can't.
Most people are not very good at managing their time, I would even say.
Back in the day, they could.
Mm-hmm.
Grant Morrison said that he would write like 4. He would do a whole arc in 1 month.
Yeah, that's because he'd just get high and write. Literally, that's what he'd do. And sometimes the editors, who I know, didn't have any idea what he was writing when he sent it in.
Well, Jim Starlin would get high as well. All those, but Jim Starlin could only draw a comic. Couldn't draw a comic monthly.
Mm-hmm.
But he probably could write 2 a month. That's
and
the thing.
Another comic I got this week comes with some illustration history I learned, which is new to me. This is Kendra, which is by Antarctica, and it's by Ben Dunn. Do you know that name, Ben Dunn?
Yes.
Because he's been around. He's been around forever. I think he did Ninja High School.
Yeah, he founded an Antarctic Press, and
I thought he was one of the founders. I've just
that's
never
kind of his side gig.
By.
Yeah, but that's kind of his side gig.
Yeah,
because he's a dentist.
Oh, okay. I've just never bought anything by him before. Because Ninja High School, whatever. I may have bought 1 or 2 issues of something 30 years ago. I don't remember. So I was like, you know what? I want to buy a Ben Dunn comic just to check it out. And it was pretty good. It's she's a sword for hire, and she's looking for work. That's the main story. And what is it? It's about the chainmail gaze, it says on the back. That amused me. And it's gonna be 3 issues. I'm like, you know what? I'll probably. Oh, and she picks up a magic user to go on the quest with. So she's hired. I forget what she was hired. She was hired to do something. I can't even remember now. And they ran into some bad guys on their way there. But it was a solid fantasy story. Sword and sorcery, whatever they'd call this stuff. But where I learned something in illustration history is you've seen covers like this before. They've been around for about 10 years. I've heard them referred to as negative space covers.
Right.
But this is actually a technique that goes back 100 years. There was a illustrator named Coles Phillips, Coles Phillips, and it was called the fadeaway technique. And he made tons of illustrations. I think he died in 1927. So in the early part of the 20th century, this was his technique. And he made lots of illustrations, not of barbarian women, but of, regular illustrations of from the early part of the century using this fadeaway technique. And if I'd ever learned that, I've long forgotten it. So I was interested to learn that. That's got a name. It's not the negative space cover. It's the fadeaway cover. The fadeaway techniques as done by Coles Phillips. So I have a tough time saying Coles.
Yeah.
Why is there an S on the end of his name?
Yeah, I'm looking up art of his here on Google, and there's a lot of illustrations like this.
Yeah, he was a major illustrator 100 years ago.
And these are good.
Yeah, he was good. Like he was I remember his name, but I don't remember him doing that technique. So I remember him.
Even there are somewhere he's not using the technique, but when he does, it's amazing because you're not seeing you're not seeing the borders between objects.
Yeah,
but you are.
He's not doing one figure too. He's got a lot of different. He's got some complex design going on.
Yeah, it's amazing. The more I see of this, the more interested I am.
Yeah, I was happy to find that. I just happened to run into on one of my art history TikTok algorithms. Somebody was showing him off, and I was like, the fadeaway technique. So Ben Dunn at a comic shop this morning.
Yeah, it's from Texas. Yeah.
Well, next time you see him, tell him I enjoyed Kendra. I want to get all 3 issues now.
And ask him if he knows who Coles Phillips was.
Yeah, he didn't do the art of this cover. It was somebody else, I think. Nope, this is him. Cover A, Ben Dunn. I think there was some. So ask him if you know who Coles Phillips is. Yeah, cover A, Ben Dunn. Color, Tony. No, hold on. This is a different cover A, Ben Dunn. What? In here, we've got cover A, Ben Dunn, and cover B, Kelsey Shannon, right?
Right.
Well, that ain't either of those.
Yeah.
In here, it says cover A, Ben Dunn. Whoops, in the UPC.
Right.
So how come it doesn't match with the inside front cover?
Yeah, it's not even the same. It's not even the same figure design.
completely different style too. You got me. Who did this cover? Ben Dunn, maybe.
We don't consider San Antonio part of Texas. Okay. What's worse, San Antonio or Austin? Or they're close to each other. They're right next to each other, right? Because Dallas and Fort Worth are together, and then San Antonio and Austin, or I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not.
Texas is a big place.
Yes. So you shouldn't have two big cities together, right? Well, Texas is a big place, and most of it is empty.
Yeah. Two cities in one state? Isn't that weird? A little, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with Charlie. When they're trying to explain to him the difference between a city and a state, he thought Philadelphia was Pennsylvania. He found out Pittsburgh is in Pennsylvania too.
An old map friend also said you could periodically get reams of old paper by Agent Style about 15 years ago that people used for reproductions.
He was mentioning something up top about him going to an old printer he found. I saw.
But we can't do that. That copy of Action Comics #1 we want to do.
Though we may find a Superman #1 in our attic sometime in the future.
Yes, that your mom saved instead of throwing away.
Yes.
Nah, you can't fool us. We believe that all of those comics selling for $1 million, those copies of comics selling for millions of dollars, are not what they claim to be. That can cover C, lunar variant. Oh, okay.
Okay, I guess it was distributed through Lunar. All right, even though it says cover A.
Yeah, San Antonio and Austin are blue dots in a red state. Well, let's just try and reprint Jim Lee's X-Men #1. Dude, you don't need to make a new X-Men #1. They're all over the place.
I think that's his joke.
Unless you want to do let's create a variant that never existed.
I just got an email from Mile High Comics. Their 70% off sale ends on Tuesday. So if you want to get some Mile High Comics, 70% off. This weekend is when to order them.
Or not.
Oh, I also got a new Spider-Man Magic the Gathering card. Spectacular Spider-Man. This one, we can see the R down there. So this one was a rare. So it was a little more expensive than $1.50. It was $4.
Oh.
But since I had Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099, and Spider-Man Brooklyn Visionary, I decided I needed classic Spider-Man to go along with my Spider-Man Magic the Gathering collection.
Yeah, but you need black uniform Spider-Man. Symbiote uniform Spider-Man. And six-arm Spider-Man.
We'll see what they have.
My comic shop has their big sale on Monday.
If this was 1993, Jared, he'd go with his fellow Marvel bullpenners to the Complete Strategist in Midtown Manhattan, and we'd all buy a case of the new Magic the Gathering cards for like $80. And
$80 in 1996.
Yeah, that was expensive.
You could buy lunch in Manhattan. You could buy dinner in Manhattan with $80 in 1996.
We tried to keep our lunches to about $6.
So you could have money for Magic the Gathering cards.
Yep.
Nerds.
Definitely nerds.
Yeah. That's one thing that I will never do. Save money on food to buy comics. I like food.
Which reminds me,
And it's not just I like food because I'm alive because I eat food. I like to go out to places and eat a whole pot of bean stew and not do anything for the rest of the afternoon because I ate my weight in beans.
the person I went to Complete Strategist to get those cards with was right here, lettered by Dave Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Dave was one of the Magic the Gathering crew in the Marvel bullpen. This was really good. Arcadia. It's by Ignition Press, this new company that's I think mostly creator owned, and it's by written by Inaki Miranda and Roy Miranda, illustrated by Inaki Miranda. I think they're brothers. It said inside, colored by Eva Dela Cruz, lettered by Dave Sharp. But I don't know what this number does. I went to their website and there was no place to put a number in. So you got me.
You know, Iñaki is the Catalonian version of Ignatius.
Oh, I really enjoyed this one. I think they said the first story, Ignition is mostly doing miniseries, but they said this is going to be their longest one. Volume 1 is going to go 12 issues. And see these guys right here? Mm-hmm. They're not human. They don't know what they are. Hundreds of years ago, there was a war with the humans, and all the humans were wiped out. And whatever these creatures are, they might be some sort of robots, some sort of servant. They have what they call a pearl on their forehead, which I think that they think holds their consciousness. So when they die, they're like, save my pearl. So someone saves their pearl, but they have no idea what to do with it. It's not like they can build them a new body. But some guys one of the guys is investigating them and trying to figure it out. And also, there are, I guess you'd call them zombies. There's some, they call them feral. And they might be people. They don't know. But if you get bit by a feral, you turn into a feral. So one guy got bit and blew his own head off and said, save my pearl. And there's these, they managed to find this, they managed to find this place, which are all around. And there were still some of these working them there. So like this guy came out of one of these cocoons and they managed to save him. But then this giant thing showed up and blasted everyone. They don't know what this is. They don't know what's going on. They're just trying to save these other beings like them. Mm-hmm. And they're long-lived, but there's something called the void or something. Eventually, like the one guy here is about 200 years old. And once you get up, you notice a patch of something on you, like a patch of whatever it is, of discoloration on your skin. And it eventually, it's like having dementia. And eventually it reaches your pearl on your forehead, and that's when you die. So they're long-lived, but they have an expiration date. And they also can't reproduce. But this turns out this is just the introduction, and this is going to be the story of, I think these two are two characters who it's hinted at eventually reproduce because the story is told as being narrated by, I think, their kid. I'm not 100% sure, but it was really well done. I enjoyed this one a lot. Arcadia, and this cover reminds me of what's his name? Milligan, the one he wrote, who drew it? Paradox from the 80s, who all of a sudden I can't remember the artist's name, who did these bright colors and stuff like this. I think he eventually did a couple things for Vertigo, but who was it? It was Philip? No. I don't have
Can't
to look
remember.
now. What was that?
Can't remember.
Yeah. I know his name. All of a sudden, I can't remember. Brendan McCarthy. That's it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Brendan McCarthy. That's who that cover reminds me of. But yeah, really, that one got me right away.
Jared, I got Erotech issue 1 and went to pre-order 2 in my LCS. Said they are fulfilling orders because it's adult and not polybag. Yes, it's definitely weird. I mean, you're
They won't
pre-ordering.
order it for you? They
It's
don't
not
have to put it out on the shelf. They can just
it's,
hand it to you.
right. It goes on your pile at the back of the store.
Why does it have to be polybagged?
You know, sometimes you hear these stories about a store of shop owners being weird about something, and then don't they understand the concept of money?
They can take it out of the box, put it behind the counter,
Yes.
and never think of it again. My
Yeah.
comic shop is no problem. They put it up on a high shelf.
Yeah.
They got high shelves.
It must be against like there's.
It must be. You know, people are.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Scott Koblish just posted on Facebook this. I don't know this article he found about this artist who she's been painting paintings of Spider-Man getting blowjobs. That's her sort of theme.
Okay.
So she's got all these paintings, and you don't see it. You don't see anything explicit, but it's obvious what's going on. And she has this whole this article based, there's something to do with the whole culture being obsessed by the Spider-Man and Mary Jane upside down kiss and this and that. But the amount of pearl clutching on his comments from kind of like, oh my goodness, oh, I can't believe it. Oh, I'm just like, oh, come on. There's nothing, it's suggestive, but there's nothing even blatant about it. But the amount of pearl clutching was crazy. Their beloved Spider-Man. I find very funny. But yeah, you know what? He wouldn't order it for you. That's just nuts.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense in any way for store. I understand we do not put adult comics on the shelves for people for anybody to find. But if it's pre-ordered, it goes into the pre-orders into the pre-order stack, and it goes directly to your hands.
Right. They call it a pull list because they pull it out of all the new comics they got and put it aside for you.
Exactly.
What comics do you want us to pull out of the stack and put aside for you? That's why it's called a pull list.
Yeah.
No one else has to see it.
Yeah, it's my store policy. No Batman comics.
What? Makes no sense to me. The guy must somehow be a pearl clutcher. He's all, oh no, think of the children. I'm not a children. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I remember I once saw somebody relating an anecdote. Some comic shop owner wouldn't let some dad went to a comic shop owner. My kid said you wouldn't sell him a comic. Oh no, these are adult comics. So, oh, you mean there are titties in this? Holy shit! You can't give that to my kid. He might be fucked up for life.
But my LCS owner will order whatever I want him to. He even what did I find out because he runs the comic shop as a hobby and to build up his own collection. Like he's got a full-time job that he's remote with. And my comic shop is only open Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. So I think 3 days a week the comic shop is open. It's not even like a full-time thing. He works doing coding for a credit card company. But like I said, he can buy anything he wants at, cost. And that's what he does. That's what he just collects. He collects so much. Besides, he collects so much stuff. He has bought like books from like sets of random books from libraries just because he can, just because they're like, oh, it's cheap. And like he bought, I don't know if you know the German publisher Taschen.
Yeah.
They put out some books in recent years on under the counter and over the counter magazines from the US. So, and specifically the over the counter ones are like Playboy and whatever, Penthouse, whatever else minor ones that were all around too. The under the counter ones were pornographic. And they put out collections of them.
Yeah.
My comic shop owner got all the collections. Just not for the shop, just for himself, and just because he collects so much stuff. And I was just like, so he'll have no problem ordering whatever.
We'll tell Wilson nobody misses him. So Pope Reader says, I do orders through an app and saw that it wasn't fulfilled, so I asked. And he brought up how issue 1 wasn't polybagged and they didn't know, so they're... Okay, no.
The name of the comic is erotic. It says for mature readers on it.
It says for mature readers in the
solicitation.
In the solicitation, yeah. And besides, it's not going on the shelf. I don't. I mean,
that's nuts.
Some people must hate money. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I have heard.
It's a bigger store with a lot of family type traffic, so I can kind of see the thing. But yeah, exactly. It goes on your pull box.
Right.
Nobody has to see it. Only you.
Yeah. What area of the country is it? Is it the Bible Belt?
Sometimes it's in New York.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, if the LCS one ordered, I guess you might just have to give someone else money for that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just go to another store, order online. The guy obviously doesn't want your money.
That's crazy. I have heard stories many times before, not even with like, nudity in a comic where the comic shop owner just won't order stuff for someone or is very erratic. You ask for it to him to order it and he just never does.
So most comic shops have access to comic bags. They can put stuff in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a million ways they can make sure that you get your comic and nobody else has to see it.
Yep. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. No problem.
No, the moon has to be the correct retrograde form.
I think he does. The owner doesn't trust himself around nudie drawings.
Yeah. Yeah, Wilson said. I guess Wilson said he would stop by if he had time.
Yeah, I think he had a Friendsgiving today, maybe. I can't remember. You're right. I remember him saying something, but now I can't remember what.
You look crazy in the shop because it sounds like you're okay.
Oh, Arizona.
That's Arizona.
That's a pretty conservative state. Not always, but
there's a good shop in Mesa. What is the name of that thing? Because they used to. The guy used to come to Grotto's. Grotto's, yeah. Gotham City Comics.
You can try New York.
Yeah, you could try Gotham City Comics in Mesa. You could probably order. The guy has a bunch of old magazines from the 70s, Monster Mags, and everything in the store. The store looks like a curio shop where everything is monster related. So I mean, he could order it for you. I think you wouldn't have to show it to anybody. I mean, all the monster stuff he has is already scary for kids. So. My anger will be directed at Chris. Yeah. Well, I know Chris saw the message because I saw it on Messenger that he had seen it, and Wilson hadn't. So he could have come, but he chose not to.
He's like, I don't have time. I don't have time for tit goblin tonight. No way.
Yeah. Too busy working. Well, it probably is too busy working.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys did you guys work in general in America today?
No. Matter of fact, a lot of people didn't work Wednesday. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is the busiest travel day of the year in this country.
Right.
So, like, just coming home Tuesday night, I take a train from Penn Station to Secaucus Junction, and then another train from Secaucus Junction up to Nanuet, where I'm parked. And the train from Penn Station to Secaucus Junction was jammed because it's also the train to Newark, where Newark Airport is. And it was just wall to wall people, a lot of them with suitcases. So a lot of people were even leaving Tuesday night.
Your parents stayed there from Florida in the last week for the
Yeah.
last week. Yeah.
They'll be up through. They usually stay up with us through New Year's Eve, so they'll be up through
Okay.
Christmas.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. There's no point in going up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though even though the temperatures might not be ideal for an elderly couple.
It's a little chilly out. Let's see, one last comic I got this week.
Opal Preto says, I have other shops I can go to, but I just found that such a weird. And
Yeah.
no, yes.
We thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
The Department of Truth, issue number 34.
Yeah.
And we kind of get a change of direction. This is by James Tinian, Simmons. What's Simmons' first name again? Martin Simmons, Aditya Bidikar, letterer, Dylan Tide, designer, Steve Fox, editor. And this is the one that's about the Department of Truth is run by Lee Harvey Oswald. And if enough people believe a urban legend, it becomes real and rewrites history. So it becomes real. So they've been trying for the last 40 years to rewrite history or to keep history beneficial to the United States. And the Soviet Union had their own, which they, since we named ours the Department of Truth, they decided to name theirs the Department of Lies, just as kind of a joke. But our Department of Truth won out. And the Soviet Union, and this is and it was the story up until now has been about one guy who kind of joined the Department of Truth. So he was the character we would relate to, where all these sort of machinations of the Department of Truth were revealed to him, and so they were revealed to us. And in this particular one, he kind of just got fired from the Department of Truth. So now some people are after him and his husband, and some other people who've there's also been this this woman with the X over her eyes is kind of we don't know what she is, but she's kind of some sort of harbinger against the Department of Truth, or some kind of harbinger that that sort of signals trouble for the Department of Truth. We don't really know. She's very interesting visuals with her, but as a character, she's not really revealed to be anything. Right. I think she's not supposed to be.
Right. But the idea is that she's all mysterious.
Yes, she's all mysterious. And she doesn't actually do anything. But there's these other people who are sort of working in their own interest, who think the Department of Truth is gotten too big for his britches and is evil now. And so our guy has kind of been kicked out of the Department of Truth, and he may be joining their side or not. So there's sort of a turnover, a changing of the guard here of the basic concept of the Department of Truth plot line. So it was an interesting issue. And they also go up in it, sort of like the X-Files, Sometimes the storylines are about one specific, like there was a 4-issue storyline about Marilyn Monroe. And there's also, they just started a backup story, which actually started in issue 0 about Elvis.
Mhm.
And what's happening to Elvis is the Soviets are trying to take out Elvis. So he's starting to fade away. And the Soviet Union are the ones who are responsible for fat Las Vegas Elvis, because they were trying to hurt the United States by hurting rock and roll and hurting the king of rock and roll. So they turned Elvis into a fat drug addict just by making people believe that he was a fat drug addict.
Rock and roll is decadent capitalist music. Soviet Union will be supreme.
So that's a backup story.
After they're putting out a greeting card. Okay.
There's no holidays for freelancers.
Yeah.
Chris and Wilson will tell you that.
Yeah. Did you work?
I worked today. Yep. I did some penciling this morning. I made myself not work at all yesterday. I was like, no, I've got to rest. I'm not doing any drawing today.
Yeah. Sometimes we get asked, what do we do? You don't celebrate Thanksgiving? What do you do? Nothing. It's a normal day.
we have a Thursday.
We have our own holidays. Yeah, there's a bunch of channels that YouTube keeps recommending to me about Americans reacting to dumb things Americans do abroad. And they were. I was in Holland, and I found out they don't celebrate the 4th of July.
The only dumb things that foreigners can do in New York City is block the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Everything else is fine, but people got places to go. Don't block the sidewalk.
Yeah, but that happens in every big city where there's tourists. Because the same thing happens here in Lisbon, and you see all the dumb tourists with their stupid straw hats stopping in the middle of the busiest street in Lisbon, so they can take pictures of the architecture. And we're all trying to move because we have to get to the bus or the subway.
You can do that. Just move to the edge of the sidewalk.
Yeah, or do that when people are working, not at 6:30. Please.
That's not true in most American cities, because most American cities you can't walk. I just saw a video of where did somebody go? There's a TikTok of a guy who's an American, and he's like, you know what? I want to go visit places in America I've never visited before. I've hardly seen this country. So he picked Houston to go to first. And he's from New York City, or at least he's lived there. I don't know if he's from there, but and he was like, New York City is the most zoned city in the country. The zoning laws in New York City are they got everything locked down. You got to follow all the zoning laws to build stuff. Houston notoriously has no zoning laws. So there's all sorts of. And one thing I found out watching this video was, what do they call it? Racial architecture, something like that, where in Houston, you can build the chemical plants next to houses. So, of course, all the chemical plants are built next to black people's houses, not white people's houses. And the life expectancy on one side of town is 65. And the life expectancy on the other side of town is 75. And it's crazy. I mean, but no one walks in Houston because it's built for cars, and a lot of it's suburban too. People drive by at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and It's like he's like
Yeah,
he's like he was out walking because he's from New York City and wants to see the sights. But he's like he saw one person all day walking.
yeah. The oldest cities in the Northeast were built before
Right.
motorized transportation. That's why they still resemble Europe
Yeah.
in some way. The
Mhm.
Netherlands is one of the few countries. There are many. There are many countries that don't have a holiday that its independence from the UK. The UK was actually not the country with the most number of colonies. The Netherlands,
Netherlands had a lot
got
of colonies.
yeah, the Netherlands got their independence from Austria, not from the UK. They were called the Spanish. So they got their independence from Austria because they were called the Spanish Netherlands. Because the King of Spain and the King of Austria and the Emperor of Austria were the same person for a while. This was a Habsburg monarchy.
I remember I always hated European history
Hmm.
from like I from like 14 or like 13 1400 until like the 1800s because it was so freaking confusing.
Yes.
It was like this country was that country, this king, this person. Oh man, it used to drive me. I was like, oh, I can't keep track of this.
I'm pretty sure there's a period where where the map of the continent changes every single year,
Yeah,
and especially because people don't know that Germany did not exist. Germany was a cultural space; it was not a country.
right,
The
right.
space that is now Germany was multiple independent nations, the majority of which were city states or the size of a county
Right.
in New York State,
Hmm.
and but they were all independent. But they all owed allegiance to the Emperor of Austria because he was the Roman Emperor,
Not in Rome.
not
They
in
had
Rome.
their own guy.
Exactly.
I know, like what? The Roman emperor isn't in Rome? What?
They're called the number one holiday observed around the world. In fact, it depends. No, the number one holiday observed around the world is Christmas. Independent. Not even half of the countries that were colonized by European powers belong to the UK. In fact,
Anarchy in the
in
UK.
Africa, the majority of them were colonized by France,
Yeah.
and of course, in Latin America, they were colonized by Spain.
163 nations.
That's impossible. There are more countries in Europe than the ones that would be left from the whole number of countries if you deduct that 163, and they were never a part of the United Kingdom.
How many countries are around the world? I don't even know.
192.
Okay. Hello, new. A quick Google search.
That would be impossible. There are not. That would mean that only 29 countries were never a part of the UK. That's not true. There are 27 countries in the European Union alone, and none of them ever, and only one of them ever belonged to the United Kingdom, which was the Republic of Ireland.
Now I've
And
got
then you have
anarchy
all
in
the
the
other,
UK
and,
going through my head.
and then we have all of the other countries around the world which were never run by the United Kingdom. So, in Latin America, the countries that were part of the United Kingdom. So we're taking the Caribbean, not counting the Caribbean, because half of them were a British colony. But the only two you have from Mexico on down are Belize, Honduras, and Guyana.
I could have sworn you said Latin America.
Latin
And I
America.
was like, Star Trek. What?
Yeah,
Latin America?
Latin America.
That must be a country in Star Trek.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. 65 makes sense. Yeah.
65 Independence.
Yeah, 65 that makes sense. Yeah. We do have an independence celebration here next Monday, because it was when we recovered our independence after losing it for 60 years to Spain. That was Austria. Yeah, Habsburg. We had a succession crisis in 1578. See, there's that confusing part of European history that you hate so much, and because of that, a cardinal had to become king, and since he couldn't have children, when he died, the king of Spain was the rightful heir to the Portuguese monarchy. So he took over, and he really was the rightful heir, because we've had like 7 generations in succession where the monarchs of Spain and Portugal would marry a cousin, the cousin from the other country.
Was Austria the Holy Roman Empire?
No,
was that was something separate, right? That was a different time.
No, it was the same time. Now, the Austrian king, so the Holy Roman Empire the Holy Roman Emperor was elected by German nations.
Ah.
But the King of Austria would win every time. The Falkland Islands are not independent. And considering that the Falkland Islands alone won a war against Argentina, they're better off where they are.
Falkland Islands gone.
Yeah. So in 1580, the King of Spain also became the King of Portugal. To us, that was a major disaster. To the King of Spain, that was normal. He was also by that time because of a war, because of the 30 Years' War was after that. But there had been a war between French and Austria over the rights of succession of the Habsburgs. So they separated the Austrian and the Spanish crowns, provided one of them married a French princess. So, okay, but he was still the king of the Spanish Netherlands and the king of the 2 Sicilies, which was Sicily and Naples.
It's all too confusing.
Yes. And there were a couple of Italian duchies that were part of the Kingdom of 2 Sicilies, even though they were in northern Italy, and the 2 Sicilies were in southern Italy. And then in 1640, because the nobles finally got around to being fed up with it, and we famously had an episode where we imprisoned the viceroy, the Duchess of Mantua, and defenestrated her prime minister, the traitorous Miguel de Vasconcelos. Seriously, out the window.
I just love that when I found out back in my college days, there was an actual word for throwing someone out a window. I was like, whoa.
Yes.
So many people have been thrown out of windows that they had to come up with its own word.
Yes.
Yep. That's how you killed people back in the days. Once they made like 4-story buildings.
Okay, that was the most humiliating way of killing somebody of high birth during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Mm-hmm. It was a total lack of respect.
Okay.
Being defenestrated. Of course, dying from falling from a high place that has nothing to do with it. The disrespect was being thrown out the window, not falling to the ground.
Okay. Well, you needed a tall enough. They had to invent tall enough buildings that would kill you. Throwing you out a window of a 1-story building ain't gonna do anything.
Yeah. I recently celebrated my independence from McDonald's. I haven't been to McDonald's in I don't know how long. I still go to McDonald's, but only for coffee. I
20
haven't eat,
years.
I haven't eaten a McDonald's burger for I don't know. I mean, how long? Probably 6 or 7 years. But
For me, it's been at least 20 years. And
yeah,
before that, it was 10 years.
mm, yeah. The last time I had one before that, it was about 5 months. I
Huh.
don't even feel like buying, the dollar burgers
No.
because I'd be out there somewhere and I'd get peckish. Let's just do one of those. I don't even feel like doing that anymore.
Huh.
How many demos were thrown off of buildings in those days?
Like it was a
Uh,
Monty Python skit.
Just but a scratch.
All right.
We can
We should
wrap
let
up.
Paolo get to bed.
Yeah, everybody's quitting now. We've gone down to 2 people watching.
They know we end when we
Yes.
end. We'll be on my
So
channel next week.
next week, yes, and hopefully Wilson will have a good excuse.
Yeah.
All right. See you, everyone.
Have a good night out there, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Bye bye.